Tech. Tennessee Tech, 5 fish for Will and Tyler. Today's weight's going to be a good bag of fish, 14 pounds, 8 ounces.
Yo, what is good, guys? First video ever on this channel. I'm making the YouTube video this year, or videos, of me getting back into fishing. I've been kind of out of the game for the past 2 years. I fished college fishing for Tennessee Tech for 4. Took a little break, and now I'm back. I'm going to fish a local trail called the Watts Bar Opens this year. First one happens to be on March 23rd. It is March, what is it? March 9th right now, the day I'm making this video. And I was just going to give y'all a little breakdown on kind of what I'm thinking going into this tournament, what I'm going to be practicing for, what I'm going to be looking for, everything along that. And just really seeing how this YouTube thing goes. I'd really appreciate if you guys want to support me on the YouTube. Just drop a like, drop a subscription, drop a comment on your personal best. I gotta see if I got the personal best out here, out of everybody. Probably don't, definitely don't, but I gotta check to see. Couple things about the way I like to fish. I like to fish fast. I love fishing grass. Big fan of Lake Guntersville. Always done well there in all of my college fishings and BFLs. I like fishing points, like fishing offshore. Actually, you know what? I like catching them. So I like fishing wherever the fish are. And that's what I plan to do all throughout the Watts Bar Opens. I'm going to fish all of them except for one, I think. I've got engagement photos, so can't skip that. It'll be all right, though. But yeah, we'll get into it. I'm going to go over kind of what I think about Watts Bar. I've grew up here. I fish here, you know, all my life, and I've got a pretty good understanding, but every year's new on a lake. Every time you go out on the lake, it's a little bit different. You got to fish the conditions. I'm going to just break down what I'm kind of thinking going into this tournament and give y'all like a little insight into what goes on in Tyler Thompson's brain here. So I got some baits here. Mostly just typical pre-spawn baits, you know, little small baits, for if it's, you know, real sunny and the fish aren't active. I've got, you know, my fast moving baits. Like I said, I like to fish fast. So I got a little bit of mix of everything, but fish are definitely still going to be in pre-spawn mode. The one thing I'm wondering, are they going to be more focused on bait fish and eating all of them? Or are they going to be more focused on getting into the spots that they're, you know, thinking about spawning and creeping up along those creek channels and things? And it may be a little mixture of both. It probably will be that time of year. So what I'm thinking, March 28th, we're almost into April. I'm thinking they're going to end up being pretty shallow for this tournament, as long as we have pretty good weather between now and then. If there's some cold snaps or things like that, it might change a little bit. But for the most part, we should be fishing fast. We should be catching a pretty good amount of fish, regardless of the weather on the tournament day. I guess I'll just start off with the baits, kind of explain what I'm looking for when I pick up these baits, and situations that I would use them. First one, let's go with the little sissy stick here. I've got Ned rig on there. Watts Bar does have a decent amount of smallmouth, little turd action. Got a good population of smallmouth. I do like catching smallmouth, even though in a tournament like this, probably only going to be able to have one in your bag to win it. Unless you get into a good mix of them, then, you know, you might bring in two hefty ones. But yeah, I like the Ned rig. Anything that's real rocky, real point-like, that looks like it might have smallmouth on it, I throw it. Another time I like to throw it is like when the fish seem to be real lethargic, not hitting any moving baits. There's not much better than that. I know some people, you know, like, why not just throw a Cinco or weightless worm? In my opinion, I've had more luck on the Ned rig. You catch more fish and you catch big fish on it. I don't care what anybody says. Last time I went out 2 weeks ago, caught a 412 on the Ned rig off of a log. So definitely a fish catching machine. If you're new to fishing, that's probably the one that you should be throwing if you just care about catching fish on the tournament day. You know, until you figure out the fish a little more. But definitely got to have one tied on, especially nowadays, whenever you can see it on live scope and pitch at them with something like that. Next thing I've got here, and you'll see this all throughout the year for me. I keep one on deck at all times. Pretty much every lake I've went to, I've had one of these on. It's just a comfort bait to me. It is a underspin. If I can get it up there near the camera, as you can see, I've caught plenty of fish on that thing. You know, it's a good bait for me. It's like nothing else is working. I'm gonna pick up the underspin, just start, you know, running my spots, running the little deeper banks with it, you know, the long points with it. It usually triggers up a strike either with you know, smallmouth love it, largemouth love it. It's just a good comfort bait, and it's one I feel like I can control what happens with the fish. You know, you have a lot of times with like a DT6 or you know, any type of crankbait with treble hooks, rattle trap. I feel like I lose a lot more fish on lures like that rather than like a swim bait, just one straight hook. So I feel like I can control how I pin them, how I set that hook on them, and how I get them in the boat a little bit better. So that's just a comfort bait for me. I'll throw it regardless on tournament day at some point whenever, you know, I'm feeling it there. But I don't really have it tied on for a specific reason. I mean, it shines pretty good in pre-spawn, but, you know, post-spawn as well, whenever they're starting to drop off of those humps, it's a good bait to go to. So, good all-around bait there. And as you see, as I go through these, I've got a lot of baits that I'll keep on deck all year long. Now, this one is not one that I'll keep on all year long. Even though it's kind of trending lately from what I've been seeing as people are throwing this all year. It's a jerk bait. I've basically got this one on now. Obviously, it's going to be cold water. I think, you know, fish are going to be active enough where I don't necessarily have to throw a jerk bait. But I want to have one on just in case they're a little more lethargic, not really wanting to strike, you know, let's say a rattle trap or a swim bait like that as much. And you kind of got to trigger them to strike. So I've got a little bandit jerk bait on right here. The blue and silver with a chartreuse belly. Let y'all take a look at that one there. It's a nice little bait. Once bar is pretty clear for the most part, unless you run up the river. So that's kind of why I got that color on. It's pretty ghost-like it's transparent on the bottom. So I usually like going with the transparent ghost style baits whenever we've got clear water, and that's whenever I would throw a jerk bait. Another thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use the Garmin Pan Optics, the live scope with that. And I'm going to be throwing at fish that I see on that with the jerk bait. It's just something you've got to do now. If you're not doing that, fishing tournaments for money, you're a little bit behind the curve, just to be honest. I wish it wasn't like that, but it is. And I've just got to get better at it as well. Now, as far as the whole drama on the live scope, you still got to catch the fish at the end of the day. I don't care if you can see it or not. You got to find the fish. You got to be able to catch them. So I think it's fair game with the live scope. Like, the guys that are really good about it, they're just ahead of the curve, and the rest of us are going to have to catch up. Going into my next one, another pre-spawn heavy bait. It's a classic. I'm going to have it on from October, late October to maybe even beginning October to April, early April, and that's a Shad wrap. These things are killer throughout the spring. I throw mine on the spinning rod, as most people do. It's just lighter. It's you know, it's a harder bait to control, and it's a great bait to trigger strikes. It's got pretty much a flat side on each side, and it's gonna dig pretty well. It's gonna get about 6 foot down. And it's just a fish catching machine, especially this time of year. It's got a real top wobble. And the color I've got on that just is the gizzard shad, I guess. It's got a purple top on it, purple back. So that one's just a comfort bait as well. You know, anytime I see chunk rock banks with like a 45-degree slope, that's probably going to be in my hand. And I'm probably going to be cranking the crap out of it. just to be honest with you. I mean, fish love that bait this time of year. And March 28th, I see them really, really chewing on that, especially if I can get a few banks that got fish on them, that fish are moving in and using it as a highway to get back to those bays. Now, we got something that I'm probably going to be throwing if they end up getting on docks, or if they're still kind of out on these channel points and main lake stuff. That's a jig. Now, there's a lot of colors you can go with your jig. A lot of people love black and blue. I've never been that type of guy. I think it's just black and blue is more of a muddy water bait in my mind. I know people, catch them in all different colors with black and blue, but this is what I've got confidence in. And to me, it's the Watts Bar secret. I haven't been on a lake that purple has worked quite as well as it does here on Watts Bar. In this top of Tennessee River, like Tellico, Fort Loudon, Watts Bar. But this jig, it has purple accents on it. And I've got a little bluish green crawdad trailer on that as well. So we got a little purple, a little blue. Those crawfish, they're still going to be a little bit cold that time of year, starting to warm up. Watermelon red would be a good color as well. I think personally that green and blue, that green and purple is the way to go on Watts Bar itself. But like I said, everybody's got their own thing. I'm not the best fisherman in the world. I just like talking about it. Now, to go to the next two, if I could pick a way to catch my fish in the tournament, it would be on these next two baits. One of them, I'm going to be throwing around stumps, shallow trees, some flooded stuff, places where, even a square bill would be getting hung, so like really thick brush in the water. This is the bait that I'd be throwing in that. I've loved it. I've caught a bunch of fish on this, and it's probably the most underrated bait in the fishing community as we speak. And that is going to be a fluke, but not just a normal fluke. This is a Magnum fluke. This is the Guggen soft jerk bait there. I've got that on. I was just trying it out last time I was in. I'll probably end up putting a Zoom Magnum on for the tournament. But I love this bait. I think it's really underrated. It's the same as just throwing a jerk bait, and especially like pre-spawn fish, sometimes they're a little lethargic if they're not chewing. You can really make them bite with this. And then also just the versatility of it. If you're throwing around stumps, trees, things like that, you don't have to worry about it getting hung. You can put it right on top of the log and have it fall off like a dead minnow. And that's one thing that I've learned that's like really, really good on every lake I've been on. So that's not even a comfort bait with me. That's a must-have bait. Always got to have a fluke on. Let me think. Yeah, I think I would say this is the best search bait that I've found. I've been to 40 plus lakes fishing for bass, and there's not a better lure to just pick up and go along the bank and throw to find fish than that one right there. A lot of times you'll have fish follow it. You'll get to see what kind of fish are in the area, if it's the kind of fish you want to be fishing for. It's a bait that's going to get a lot of strikes. You're going to be able to, like I said, with the swim bait, you're going to be able to control, the type of hook set, the type of, fight with the fish that you have on that. And it's versatile. I throw it a lot in grass, even all the way almost to matted grass. Like if it's just there at the very top, I'll still throw it. I'll throw it in stumps. I'll throw it in overhangs. I'll even throw it in open water as well. I'm not afraid to do that. Techniques vary. If you're with stumps, you're with logs thrown at specific isolated targets, you want to throw it on past it, get a couple of good, jerks in it, and then really play with it around the log, the stumps, things of that nature. Try to trigger that strike from the bass that's sitting next to it, warming up. Or if you're on grass, you might just be fan casting it and just ripping it through there. I do a lot of that, especially on Gunnersville. And then as far as open water goes, if you've got bait in a bay that's, squirming around, flipping out of the water, there's not another bait besides like maybe one of those like little runner topwaters that mimic that quite like a fluke. So I always have a fluke ready to go. It's the best search bait. It's the best bait for finding fish. It's one that you should have on springtime through the summer, especially around the shad spawn top of year, or top of time during the shad spawn. That's definitely the go-to bait there. So, big fan of the soft jerk bait, the Fluke, however you want to put it. It's definitely a must-have, and hopefully I'm catching those, catching them on that whenever the tournament rolls around. Now, for the last one, like I said, these last two baits, it's the way I want to catch them. So this one, you probably already hear it. This is the most simple bait that you can use in fishing, and that's going to be a rattle trap. Now you're like, man, Tyler, that's a small rattle trap. Yeah, it is. You know why? Because a lot of times during pre-spawn, if we've had good weather, I'll put it that way. If we've had good weather, these fish are going to be moving up into the bays. They're going to be getting on those flat areas chasing bait. And that's going to be about the size of the bait this time of year. The little shad that are running around, that's a 1/4 ounce live target rattle trap. And that's going to be something I'm going to fan cast around the back of bays, just searching for a group of fish. It's a confidence bait for me as well. It's one that's going to catch them on tournament day. It might not be big ones, but that'll definitely catch fish during the pre-spawn, no matter the time of day. Morning, afternoon, lunchtime. That's going to be a good bait to throw, and I really hope we catch them like that. Now, the last bait that I'm going to be throwing for sure at some point is probably a spinner bait. And spinner bait's just one of those baits that I really enjoy, using. It's one that you can control the tempo of it whenever you're reeling it in. You can also control the vibration. You can, fix the blades on it. You can throw double Colorados. You can throw double Willows. You can throw, what I like to throw is called an Oklahoma blade. It's almost like a Colorado, but it's got a bend in the middle. And it's a little more finesse top. And that's kind of how I like to throw my spinner baits. It's not just really a throw in and retrieve type of thing with me. It's more of a, there's my target. There's that log sitting in the water. I'm going to take it around the left side of it, ease it past it, drop it, ease it a little more, take it off, try to trigger that bite. I think that's one thing that's overlooked by spinner baits. It's an iconic bait in the bass fishing community. Probably when you first got into fishing, that's probably what you threw. And most people, the way they fish it is they just throw it out there, reel it in real slow, throw it out there, reel it in real slow. They might reel it fast, they might reel it slow, just depending on, what they're thinking at the time. But the way I really like to use it is real finesse like, get around it, the target, either the bass or the log or the stump, and just, easily wind it through there, maybe let it fall, maybe like reel it a couple times real quick, try to trigger a reaction bite. So that's just a real good bait anytime from now, March 9th, till, let's say, end of May, end of June. After that, I really put the spinner bait up, unless I'm able to find fish schooling on shad or something along those lines. But even then, I like to throw a small swim bait out there. The last little thing that I'll go over, and this isn't the one I'm going to have tied on for the tournament. It's just the old one I've got on here. But I'm going to take that little guy off. He's a little bit too big, but I'm just going to have a little jig head with a minnow on it. Like I said, if you're not live scoping, you're behind the curve this year. And going forward, so that's just going to be something. If I see a fish that's 15 plus feet deep, I'm gonna throw that at it, sit it right in front of its face, and see if they'll eat it. So that one's self-explanatory. I mean, that's going to catch a bass. If you put a little minnow in front of a bass's face, it's going to eat it 9 times out of 10, unless it's been heavily pressured. So that's just a good bait to have in the arsenal as well. If you just want to just fan cast that one around, I mean, you're definitely able to do that. Smallmouth love a little small minnow. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I got for you guys today. The tournament's, March 23rd. So I'm going to be going out and practicing next weekend, seeing what's out there, seeing kind of how the fish are moving up and whatnot. And then we're going to give it a go that Saturday of the tournament, and then figure them out that day of. So the next time that you guys hearing from me, that's going to be the tournament day. I'm not going to do another like preview of the tournament. I'm going to just do the tournament day, me catching the fish, maybe talking about it at the weigh-in if we do all right, and a little recap of when I get back. And this is a series I'm going to start this year. It's just going to be all what's bar based for the most part. Like I said, I'm going to be fishing the trail just to get my feet back wet in the fishing game this year. So if you're local around Watts Bar or East Tennessee, I'd really appreciate the follow. If you see me at a weigh-in, come say what's up. I like to chat it up with the guys, so just make sure everything's positive. No, I'm joking. I know there'll be some guys out here like, man, you can't catch them, yada yada yada, the first time I do bad in the tournament, but it'll be all right. But I really appreciate it. If you watched the video this far, that is awesome. I'll probably do some giveaways as well once we get this channel moving, once we get it going, maybe at 100 subscribers or even better, a little more than that. So really appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope what I told you kind of helps you dial it in a little bit, this pre-spawn. Helps you get after them a little bit. Like I said, I haven't fished in a couple years, but I did a lot of fishing for 7 straight years in the high school and then in the college ranks as well. And I did pretty good some tournaments. So, like I said, I don't know everything, but I know a little bit, and I know there's some people out there that want to watch and learn a little bit. And I hope to be a guy that's not like, you got to do this to catch fish. I'm just going to explain to you kind of what I'm thinking from my mindset. So I really appreciate the watch. Love you guys. Y'all have a great day, and tight lines.